Well, I don't know if anyone will find this of any value or find it interesting, but this is a short video on my attempts, hopefully successful attempts, to fit an Ecoflow alternator charger into my VW California, quite an old California now. There's the space I'm hoping to get it all to fit into. It's very small, and I want to arrange it so it can be reverse engineered and taken out if I want to put it in another vehicle at any time. So, I don't know, it might be quite a difficult challenge, but we'll see how we get on, and I'll keep you posted as we move on to the next stage. Before I start the installation, I think it's important to say that this is purely a record of my experiences installing, testing and wiring the alternator charger. I'm certainly not an auto electrician, and therefore the video isn't intended to give guidance or advice. So there's the leisure battery underneath that black cover on the California. There's already a cable fitted to it, which is the one I use to connect my Vitron charger and solar panel. Goodness me, I've done this job before, but I'd completely forgotten how difficult it was to get the cover off. It's okay towards the front of the battery, but where it goes under the seat, very, very tight fit. You also have to release two torque bolts at the back of the seat runner, one there and one there, and to get your fingers underneath and onto the cover you have to wedge the seat up, otherwise there's no access at all. There's no way you can lift it out. The charger comes with an inline fuse of 125 amps. I'm no electrician. Is that too high? If you look over here you'll see that we've got a maximum output of 800 watts and 12 volts, 67, 66 amps. And of course you can run the Ecoflow at much lower wattage. I'll probably run mine at 500. So going back to the fuse holder, I'll probably opt to put a slightly smaller one in. I've got two to choose from, a 100 amp and an 80 amp. I think I'm going to go for the 80 amp. The replacement fuse should be fitted the same way the Ecoflow fitted it. There's an 8mm nut. Underneath that there's a shake-proof washer. And then underneath that there's a flat washer which makes contact with the wire contact coming in. So just make sure it's fitted the same. Probably a good idea to disconnect the hookup before touching any of the connections and disconnecting anything inside. Well, here we are, day 2. What's caught me out is the incredible size of the cables, which wasn't clear in other videos I'd watched on YouTube. I mean, look at that resistor. It's like the size of a coffee cup. And the actual cable looks like something that might be used by the national grid rather than a vehicle cable. But I'm going to plough on. What I've done so far is connected up the battery to the charger. I've earthed the black cable to the chassis of the vehicle via the clamp that holds the battery down, and so far tests have been quite good. Everything seems to be working. The difficult thing is selecting which voltage, starting voltage, you want, because it seems to differ as to when you're charging or when you're discharging from the power station back into the leisure battery. Anyway, we carry on. Next big job is trying to hide all these wires. Oh dear. Well, it's going to be a hot day today, so I'm starting a bit earlier. I've got the awning out and hoping to effectively get the battery wiring done and the cover back on and that part of the job finished. Problem I had yesterday was the lugs I'd bought, which were the correct ones for the wire gauge that I was using, just weren't big enough to go over that stud. I'll go over to it now. The stud on the battery clamp. That's I don't know what size it is, but it was far too big. And if I'd fired out the center of the lug that I intended to use, there'd been so little material left, it would have been unable, I think, to cope with the amperage going through when the alternator charger was working. So yeah, that was difficult. In the end I had to use the original Ecoflow one that came on the cable, and it was cramped on so hard. I actually ended up cutting it off with a hacksaw, reshaping it and then soldering it. Long job for really very little outcome. Well, the connections to the battery are done. We've got the positive going down the side of the battery, and that goes down into the inline fuse holder. I'm actually using the Ecoflow one. Then we've got it grounded as we saw earlier, because I had to enlarge the connection point. And then over here we've got the two coming up and then joining into the 50 amp Anderson plug, which is going to be hidden away under the seat. Hopefully it's going to be covered in loom tape so it doesn't vibrate and make a noise. And there's the old connection for the solar panel down there, which again is covered in loom tape. Now I've got to now I've got to see if I can get the cover back on. Trying to put the cover back over the battery. Oh, I got in a tiz was. We all get in a panic when we're doing jobs. I decided I ought to take the seat off, and then I've got access to it very easily. Not a good decision. So I stopped about halfway through and thought I'll check the internet, and lo and behold, apparently you can undo the clamp on the battery and you can move the battery back, and hopefully once I've done that I can get the cover on and clamp it back down. What was I thinking? Taking the seat out? Well, the battery connections are finished, tidied up, and we've got the Anderson connector on top there, loom taped up. Next job, oh, do excuse the car noises by the way, it's a busy time now. The next job is to bring in the very long cable, I think it's 5 meters, that goes from the alternator charger, which is there, into the battery, and then obviously off to the alternator to read the charge. I've got to reduce the length of that, and I'm just trying to decide exactly where to put the charger. Probably going to arrange it so it can go in 2 or 3 places, and the cable's just about long enough so I'm not using too much cable. Dust cover is now fitted on the Anderson connector, the one that's coming from the battery. So now the next job is to decide what to do with this very long cable that Ecoflow provide. I think it's 5 meters, which is, you know, really important if you've got a 6 meter motorhome, but this is only a camper van, and a small one at that. I've got to just measure it up and see if I can arrange it to be the perfect length to arrange to make connections in about 3 places. I want to be able to connect it on top of the Ecoflow. Then I want to be able to go down and perhaps connect it on the floor, and then also I have the toilet positioned just behind the passenger seat, and I might choose to charge it on top of that. So we'll see. I'm limited of course by the length of the other cable that connects the Ecoflow to the charger. I might even just make it the same length. Anyway, we'll see. Today the whole system seems to be working really well. You can see the cables coming out of the charger, and then the cable going back into the hidden cables underneath the seat. So far so good, everything's working. The original idea was to store the alternator charger against the side of the kitchen, and it does fit very well. It's not much wider than a book, and doesn't take up an awful lot of space. But what I didn't take into account, I'm coming down now to show you, and we've mentioned this before, is the enormous cables coming out. These really go out so far, I wouldn't be able to fit the toilet in there at all, which is where it normally goes. So good idea in theory, but in practice the cables are too big, and it's not going to fit. It's still going to be possible to store the charger down by the side of the kitchen. It will go up against the side of the unit, and I've put rubber feet to the left of the charger and underneath the charger to reduce vibration, and to keep it away from the edge, to hopefully keep it cool. We'll see. I've now got to come up with a storage solution for the cables. I think it's going to be okay. I think one cable will go behind the power station and the other one will go in the wardrobe. So we'll have a go at that and see how it fits. Perfect timing. The storage bags arrived today. I always order my bags from a company called Clever Baggers. They're pretty much perfect for storing in the camper van, small items, big items. They stop things getting damaged, and they stop all those annoying rattles and noises when you're driving along. So the next job is fold the cables, see if they'll fit inside the bags, and then see if they can be stored in the places I've chosen, which is one behind the power station and one in the wardrobe. Because the power station cable is flat, it folds really easy. It just sort of flattens down as you fold it. It's going to fit in the storage bag very easily, I think. So we'll try that out and see if it fits. The alternator cable is a little trickier. It's thicker, and of course that big resistor at the end doesn't help. I've used the cable ties that came in the original cable, both on this cable and the other one I've just shown you. So that's quite good. At least I'm reusing those. I'm going to try them in the storage bags now and see if they fit. Pretty spot on, really. They fit in the bags really well. Good old clever baggers. Next job, can I store them in the van? Longest day of the year today, and it's going to be a hot one. So getting up early and getting this started. Great result on the storage. Both the bags containing the cables just simply fit behind the power station. Couldn't be better. So no problem with putting the cables in the wardrobe. Don't need that space now. The second cable just tucks in the other end. There's a sort of natural gap between the power station and the back of the seat where the recess is. So perfect, really. I've shut the door because of the traffic noise. Unforeseen problem, the cable was pretty thick, and as a result when the seat came back it jammed underneath. So luckily I've taken the grey cover off and the cable just clicks into there and the cover can be put straight back on again. So in a way a better solution because the cable's not visible. Turning to the iPad with all the foreseen problems mapped out, it's been quite gratifying to start ticking them all off and see the project come together. Keep checking the cables behind the grey trim, that was one of them. Shape-proof washer on the battery terminal, that was another. So getting there, it's not finished yet, but almost, I think. Turning to the power station itself, I've completed the table that goes on top. It's made from 9mm plywood and it's been emulsioned in the colour I mixed up. It's a perfect fit for the power station itself, but looks a bit odd with the protective mesh around the outside, which I'm keeping there because it's a very expensive unit, the Delta Max 2, and I don't particularly want to get it scratched and damaged. It's still a really useful space. I had a much smaller power station before and really I didn't do anything with it at all. This one you can at least put things on top, rest things on top, and overall quite a good result. It's quite interesting to see other camper van owners, and like me, they seem to spend most of their time on their knees, shuffling into the cupboard, shuffling out again. And this table, I think, will be very useful. It was very useful last weekend when we were away. A lot of things were put on it. People just couldn't be bothered to move further into the van. So it's an unexpected bonus. I just didn't expect this at all. We've still got room to get through. Not as much room, of course, but it's not terrible, bearing in mind the size of the unit I've bought and you know how much power it's got. So again, not disappointed with this outcome. You won't be able to feel the heat in here. I'm thinking 29-30 degrees. As I said earlier this morning, I think it's hottest day of the year. Can't even shut the door, it's so hot. So sorry, we got some more traffic noise going by. Here's all the cable I didn't use. I'll be putting that back in the box and storing that, and of course I can modify that and put it in another vehicle as and when. At the moment that's not on the cards, so it'll just stay in the box. Just checking the AC output from the power station. Going across, I've got the kettle boiling over here. Well, not the kettle boiling, we were saying that, the water in the kettle boiling. And obviously that's going away pretty quick actually. Well, just as quick as it would if it was plugged in the mains at home. So that's all working. And then down behind the toilet, everything's packed away as it normally is. You know, toilet rolls and all the other junk you have to take. Just a remaining concern, will I actually be able to sit on the bog? There's not a lot of room. Some of that foot room's gone now. Luckily I'm not that tall, so I'm hoping I probably can. It's going to be cramped, but if you want a full-blown power station that could fit in a motorhome in a California, is always going to be cramped. The reverse charging seems to be working very well. At the moment we're putting out 17 watts and that's going from the power station into the leisure battery. So going up to the California display now, it's saying that the battery is at 100%, which is very unusual. I normally only get up to 90, so there must be some very clever electronics in the alternator charger. Anyway, no complaints, very pleased with that. You can hear for yourselves the Volkswagen 2.5 diesel engines, a noisy old thing, 5-cylinder. Anyway, this is just to show you the charging status. The alternator's putting out 600 watts and the power station's registering that as 600, and that was the charging limit I set. So on that front, everything's working. Because I always travel with the bed down so I can store my Brompton on top of the bed, I'm going to set a timer to see how long it takes for me to set the cables up with the bed forward. So the toilet's being pushed up against the bed, and I'm going to set the timer up and see how long it takes, because I'm a bit nervous about this taking quite a long time. So I'll press the start and we're off. Well, I'm going to stop the timer now because that's how long it took, just over 2 minutes. So I'll stop the timer. Sorry, it's a bit shaky now, I'm just using one hand. And I've connected up. You can see it's connected now on top of the toilet, straight into the battery, straight into the power station, behind the power station here. I don't think that's too bad, bearing in mind when you're camper van, you're always setting things up, moving things here, taking things out, storing things in different places. So no, I think 2 minutes is okay. I thought it might be nice to actually get out of the van for a change and see where I've ended up. I'm here in Essex, near a main road, as you can hear, unfortunately. Very nice campsite, quiet in theory, but noisy because of the road. We've got the solar panel set up, we've got the Ecoflow in the van there, and a few stories to tell you on the way about how it's all worked out. Here's the view from the van. Not too bad. It's very warm, actually, warmer than it looks. Lots of majestic clouds going over. The van isn't quite as tired as it was on the drive, but we'll call it lived in, I think. So we've got the normal setup over there. Kitchen's all arranged with the sink lid up, tea on the burner there. Coming across, we're going down to the all-important, no, not the important toilet, the all-important charger. And as I say, I need to let you know how we've got on. It was about 100 miles from Sussex to get to the campsite. On the journey, the charger managed to take the Ecoflow unit from 46% charge up to 99% charge in about an hour and a quarter, which I thought was remarkable. Since I updated the firmware on the charger, it now defaults to 800 watts as the input charge, and it doesn't seem possible to lower that anymore. The alternator seemed to cope very well with the extra draw taken by the alternator charger, and didn't seem to be any ill effects. And the fuse seemed to be big enough as well, even though I was pulling 800 watts rather than the 600 I hoped to set it to. All good, really. What did surprise me was how hot the alternator charger and cables became when they were charging. I would say hot rather than warm. The extra flexible cables I chose seem to work very well, actually. It's important that they're flexible because they have to go down the side of the battery and they have to flex when they're being stored. I've put a note of the cable I chose as a picture. The holiday is done. I thought I'd do a quick report on how the combination of alternator charger and the Delta performed. Really pleased. 5 days, possibly 6, going into the reverse charging, keeping the leisure battery full, and I think probably 6 days actually. So really pleased with the outcome. Moving over slightly just to get a better view of the vineyards outside Purley in Essex. End of the holiday, 6 days, no hookup. That's better than I expected. So I know I've said it already, but it's been a great outcome and I'm very pleased. Last week we were at Henley Regatta, go most years, and again it was a good chance to test the Ecoflow Delta 2 Max and the alternator charger, and once again, as was the case in Essex, they both behaved really well. We were off-grid for 4 days, no problems at all, so really happy with the outcome. These are the final points I've come up with, written them down as you can see so I don't forget them. It's not really supposed to fit in a camper van, the system I've installed, which makes it all the better in a way, because the smaller the van, the more difficult it is to fit. Motorhome, no problem. Lots of room, lots of storage opportunities. Somehow it's made my 17-year-old van seem a bit more up to date, with technology that wouldn't look out of place in a brand new camper van, a 2025 model. So yeah, it's given it a new lease of life, really. If you've been off grid for an extended period of time, it might be a good idea to charge the leisure batteries before connecting the alternator charger, just to make sure they charge up first. So many people put helpful videos up on YouTube, so I hope the one I've put together here helps someone who's thinking of adding a power station to their camper van or motorhome. And finally, on a sort of personal note, it does get more difficult to get excited as you age. And I've really enjoyed this project. It's given me a real buzz, working out whether it would work and whether it was going to function as planned. So sleepless nights, working out could it work, should it work, and will it work? And I've really enjoyed it, and it's given me a real sense of achievement getting it to work as planned.